Hey everyone, my name is Megan, and this is Painted and Distressed. This is part 2 of my Halloween series. This first project, we're going to take this canoe that I got from Michael's on clearance for a couple dollars, and I'm just taking off all the embellishments that it had. It had a lot of 3D embellishments, as you can see, like the fishing pole and stuff, which I definitely am saving for another project because they're really cute and they're quite durable. Anyway, so I'm just taking off all the little nails and the sharp staples and stuff that are on there, and then I just gave it a good coat of Rust-Oleum matte black spray paint. And at first I thought I was going to use this cobweb material, but then it was too thick even after I cut it. So then I decided we're going to go with the creepy cloth because that looks creepy. And it looks, I don't know, I just like the look of it better. So I just lay it down, covering the coffin, which used to be a canoe. And then I'm just taking this witch ghost from Dollar Tree. I'm just laying her in there. So then I take some of these spider rings and I made a little broom for her and this ribbon, and it's all from Dollar Tree, of course. And I end up painting the spiders black, and then I'm just gonna hot glue the witch ghost into the coffin so that way, because this piece can be stood up as well. So if I wanted to use it as like a leaner against a wall or something, I can do that, or I can lay it flat. And so I just hot glue everything to the witch, including her little broom. And same with the creepy cloth, just making sure that everything stays still if I want to stand this up. And of course, I got a big old glob of glue on top of her hat. And then, of course, I needed to add a jeweled spider for an extra embellishment because she's a classy witch. And this is how it turned out. This project was fun. I took this little terrarium from Dollar Tree, and if you saw my previous video from my previous Halloween video, I spray painted some of this moss black, and so I had some left over, and so I just put it inside this terrarium. I made a little broom out of a hula skirt and a skewer, and then just wrapped a little twine, of course, around it. I'm going to put that inside our terrarium. I do distress it a little bit with some antiquing wax just to make it look a little more like a broom and not so much like a hula skirt. Then I took one of these little tag signs and I'm just handwriting on there using a paint marker, broom parking only. These terrariums, I mean, the possibilities are endless of the things you can make with these. I mean, it's going to be really cute for Christmas as well. And so I just added a little witch's hat on top and some more of those spiders and just gave it a little spooky scene. And there's our potion bottles that I made in my last Halloween video. So I know witches typically are on broomsticks of how they get around, but I wanted to make a truck because I've had this for a while and it's so cute. And I thought it would be perfect to paint it black and make it spooky looking. But the inside is kind of weird of how they put the pieces, and I didn't want to completely rip it apart. And so I'm just taking some craft sticks and trying to make it as even as possible because I wanted to put an actual like skeleton witch inside of it, and then some other embellishments and stuff. And so to keep them from falling out, then I just tried to even it as much as possible with some craft sticks. And then of course I am painting it black using Waverly ink. And I also use some antiquing wax for the rails on the bed of the truck. And then now to give it a little spooky, aged vintage look, I'm just taking some white wax and lightly distressing the entire truck. And what's cool about this wax is I didn't wait for the paint to fully dry. I did use my heat gun to make it mostly dry. So then it gives it a really cool kind of grayish look to it. And then I'm just adding these cute little pumpkins and of course some more spider rings. And I did distress them with some silver paint and the bats as well. But I attached them to the truck first, and then I decided they were way too bright. So then I'm taking this skeleton and I'm cutting off his legs because they were way too long, or her legs, I should say, because they're too long for the truck. And then I end up cutting part of her arms as well, and then attaching her hands back in there. So this little skeleton is part of a skeleton garland from Dollar Tree. And so as you can see here, I'm just cutting off her arms. They were way too long. And then I just attach her hands back onto the arms. And then this is where I'm taking the silver paint and just kind of distressing them just to give them a little aged look, but still keeping the orange. And this is a brushed metal from Folk Art. And then I added a little witch's hat sticker from Dollar Tree, and then this project was done. Oh, and a broom, of course. She needs her broom in the back. So I made potion bottles in my last Halloween video, so of course we need to have potion books, right? Or spell books, whatever they're called. So I'm just taking these 3 canvases from Dollar Tree, and they are the 4x6 ones, and I'm just hot gluing each one to the other to make a stack. So when you are purchasing these at Dollar Tree, make sure before you purchase them that they are even, because some of them are a little cattywampus, so you got to make sure that they are all even. Sometimes the wood is a little wonky. So then I'm just giving them a good coat of Waverly ink throughout the entire piece. And I do have to say, I saw something similar that they made book stacks out of these on Dollar Tree's blog. And that's where I got this idea from. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe I never thought of this. Because it's a good size and super easy to do. So then I'm just taking my paint marker and then I'm terribly handwriting on here some spooky words that I guess a witch would have for books. So I'm just like a spell book. And then the middle one, I think, says potions. I was just kind of making these up on the fly. And I was writing, oh, I'm sorry, the third one is potions. I was writing it backwards because I wanted to make sure that they were all kind of even. I don't know why I didn't just get my Cricut out for this, but this is what happens when I don't do that or use stencils, because then that bottom part, it's quite uneven. But you know what? We distress it and it all comes together. So I'm just taking, of course, some white wax and aging these books to make them look like they're incredibly old. And like this witch has used her stack of books for centuries. And once that was dry, then I just took some twine and wrapped it around a few times. And also wait till the white wax has dried, because I didn't, and so I was getting my fingerprints all over this. Why I didn't reach for my heat gun, I don't know. So then I'm just taking some of these purple berry picks, which I do distress a little bit, you'll see in a minute, and then one of those jeweled spider rings, and I just cut off the ring part of them. I've got to make the berries look distressed too. And of course, the jeweled spider. And once I spent 2 years distressing this project was done. And here it is with the terrarium and the potion bottles and the creepy tree I made in the last video. This next project, we're going to take this witch wreath hat form from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to wrap the entire top part of it using some nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I end up using, I believe, about 5 bundles of it. I bought 6 just to be sure, so I would recommend buying 6 just to be sure, because it just depends on how tight you wrap it as well. And when you first get going with the wrapping, I would suggest also hot gluing for the first couple wraps, so that way it doesn't slide up and off the wreath form, because that happened to me. I wasn't thinking. And then once it gets going, then you don't have to use the hot glue the entire way down until you get to the end. And then when I ran out and was starting on a new bundle, then I would hot glue the end piece to the wreath form if possible. And then what I do to connect the 2 pieces is I give a good glob of glue in the middle of one piece and then attach them and kind of twist a little bit as the glue is drying, so that way they form a really good bond. And you can't really tell after that that it's not one piece. So just a little tip. And then I'm just taking some deco mesh and then some various ribbons that I'm cutting, and they're all from Dollar Tree. I'm cutting them about, I would say, 10 inches or so across. And to make it easy on myself, what I did was, after I had all the ribbon cut, then I just, of course, dovetailed the ends, but then I also basically just took one of each pattern and I put it together, and then that way I could just grab it as I went to put this wreath together. So for the mesh, then I just kind of rolled it, and then I'm using a lot of zip ties. So I just kind of rolled it together and then folded it together, and then I just put a zip tie. And then I have to go back, obviously, and fluff everything together. And then for the ribbon, then I just folded them in half and then attached them to the wreath form using a zip tie as well. And then I just alternate with the mesh at first. But then I end up using a couple more rolls of each mesh because I wanted to make this really fluffy and filled out. And so one roll of each mesh was not going to cut it. So I ended up using 2 rolls of each color. So 4 rolls total. I hope this makes sense. And then I also added some ribbon as I went as well, just to, it's just personal preference of how fluffy you want the bottom part. I wanted it extremely fluffy. I made this for my mom and dad's house, and so I wanted to make it fit more my mom and dad's decor and style, and so that's what they like. And then once I was done with that, I took this MDF sign from Dollar Tree, and then I just cut out some scrapbook paper. It's just black and white polka dots, and attach it using about half a stick of this glue. And of course, sanding the edges as always to make sure it gives it a good clean look. And then I just hot glue to the wreath form. This wreath actually is quite heavy. And then I did add a little mesh to the top of the wreath as well. This is on my front gate. It's going to look beautiful on my mom and dad's front door. And I'd love to know what you think. And if you need any additional directions as well, if I didn't explain them properly, please feel free to reach out to me. So for this project, we're going to make some Halloween pillows. So I just went on Canva and I created these designs, which I do have linked down below as a free printable if anybody's interested. And then I took my hippo heat transfer paper and I printed it out on that paper. And there is a coupon code if anybody's interested in purchasing the heat transfer paper that I have used a couple times on my channel. I love it. It's perfect, especially if you don't have a Cricut and you want to make t-shirts or pillows or anything your heart desires, mugs. So I'm just using my Cricut heat press. And that was a mistake because I had it up too high and it started burning the bottom part. This is where, reading directions on packages is helpful. I did not do that, and I should have. And so it kind of burned the edges a little bit, but it turned out to be kind of like a Bob Ross happy accident. And I actually liked the way it looked because I forgot that the heat transfer paper is white, has a white background. So I should have, when I was creating these, I should have made a cute background, like stripes or I don't know, something, but I didn't. And so it was quite white, the background, and just like a square. And so I just went through with like my Cricut. I don't know what this thing is. It's actually from Dollar Tree, but it's the Cricut dupe. And I just would I turned down the heat and I just went through with parchment paper, of course, on top, as you see me doing here. I turned down the heat and then, but just to make the transfer paper a little warm. And then I would just go through and just kind of rough up the edges a little bit. So that way it gave it more of a used vintage look and to match the top and the bottom of where it kind of burned. And then this other design I created as well, which is linked down below. And I am using the canvas drop cloth to make these pillows. This stuff is amazing, and you get so much of it. I have made, I don't know how many pillows, and I've made placemats. If you saw in my previous video I made placemats for Thanksgiving dinner. And so I am just kind of, instead of having to go through and like burn it again like I did on the other pillow, I'm just, since there's a grid on the back, I can use that as a guide to make sure I'm cutting somewhat straight. But I was just kind of making wavy little lines or little details to totally match the other pillow as well. And this one just says Hocus Pocus Broom Co. I saw this somewhere online and thought it was so cute and that I can definitely make it myself. And so that's what I did. And I got smart and decided to get out my craft iron. And so now what I'm doing is I'm measuring 2 inches around each side of the printable because I felt like these pillows needed a little something extra. And so what you're going to see is, so I start cutting the canvas down a little bit. And so basically it's going to have some layers. And so what I ended up doing is using some, which you'll see in a minute, some buffalo check fabric that I actually used in a lemon video in the summertime to make lemon pillows. And so I just wanted to reuse that fabric so nothing went to waste. So now you can see I have that buffalo check fabric and it just gave it such a better look. And then I'm just fringing the edges of the pillows on the canvas part. And so once all the fringe was done, then I'm just taking my Surebonder fabric glue that I love, and I'm just hot gluing the canvas part to the buffalo check. And this also ensures that it won't fringe anymore, especially if you have kids that like to pull on things. You won't have to worry about that with this. And so now I took another piece of the canvas, that's going to be our backing, and then now I'm just hot gluing the two together, but inside out, so that way I get a nice clean edge and it doesn't look like I just hot glued some fabric together. And so now I'm just flipping it inside out. And I'm really glad I decided to add this buffalo check because I think it gave it it just kind of amped it up a little bit, and I really like the way these turned out. And this is how the witch shoe pillow turned out and how the broom pillow turned out. And I would love to know which project was your favorite today. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for sticking around and watching this video in its entirety. I sincerely appreciate it. And next video is going to be Christmas. It's already that time and I cannot wait. I know it's early, but I cannot wait. I'm very excited. And so that is all I have for you guys today. I will catch you on the next one. Bye.